Welcome to the Business Reboot Toolkit, a mini-series to give dental practice owners ideas on how to effectively help their talents to grow their business in the current climate. Joining us today is our guest speaker of this series, Jake Maddock. Jake is a relationship coach and expert, and he has helped many couples all over Australia and the world with their relationships. I'm super excited to have Jake on with us today because, at the end of the day, a lot of the relationships that we talk about within a workplace does, it's basically relationships in essence. And Jake, being the expert in relationships, I just thought, there's a lot of skills that we can definitely take on as dental practice owners that can translate into our workplace. So welcome to the show today, Jake. It's lovely to have you.
Good to be here. Fantastic.
Wonderful. Now, Jake, before we start and jump into all the questions, I was wondering whether or not you'd be happy to just briefly give yourself a little bit more of a introduction. I'm sure there's lots of people who don't actually know what relationship coaches do, and I suppose what you typically see and how you got into what you do now.
Sure, yeah, definitely. So as Becky said, guys, I help lots of people all around the world, and realistically, you can break up what I do into a few different categories. One of the main things I do is I help single people find their ideal partner by teaching them the skills and techniques on how to find that person and then how to date effectively and get that relationship to a 10 out of 10. I also take a lot of couples and show them how to get their relationship to a 10 out of 10. And what we're going to be talking a lot about today is one of the main components of doing that, communication.
That's great. And so how long do you feel like you typically need to work with your couples before they sort of get to where they need to?
Yeah, so on average, if a couple, I can take a couple, even if they're having really bad troubles in their relationships, like a 2 out of 10, they can get to a 10 out of 10 on average within 3 months of my 6-month course.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So Jake, can you I suppose what I want to sort of find out from you is, from working with clients and stuff like that, what do you think is the biggest relationship? What's the biggest thing that would break down relationships ultimately?
Yeah, that's easily masculine and feminine energy.
Okay. Yeah. So how does that work? Can you sort of give us an idea of what that means?
Yeah, definitely. I could explain it for quite a long period of time, but if I could put it in a short, I suppose a lot of relationships start with the male being masculine and the female being feminine naturally, as people naturally seem to be. But then when people are married over the years, the men tend to slowly go down in masculinity, becoming slowly more feminine, and then the woman slowly becomes more masculine.
Okay. Is that something that you see as a trend more in the modern society, more so than, is it because of the way the world is at the moment?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely with PC culture and the way society is trending these days look, female empowerment is fantastic, especially in the workplace. Definitely. It's definitely a great thing. But with today's society, on some levels, it wants us to treat men and women like we're the same instead of celebrating our differences.
How does that work? This is probably a little bit off topic now, but I'm trying to think of how this would translate into the workforce. How would that work if, say, for example, you have a female boss versus a male boss, because I do know that, out there are theories that, it's harder being a female boss out there. I mean, I'm one myself. And there are certainly people that, have this idea. What should be the style of a female employer, for example, or a leader versus a male one?
Yeah. If you're a female leader in the workplace, you're going to run into a few difficulties. First of all, if you have people that you're managing who are males or even females, there's going to be certain people who don't like to be told what to do by a female. You see the same thing with children, and you hear the age-old thing all the time. All the couples I coach and they have kids, that they always say, the wife or the mother always says, the kids don't listen to me, but they always listen to their dad. Why? Are kids born sexist? I don't think so. But why is it like that? It's the same in the workplace. So it doesn't mean that you can't lead people. Of course, women can be fantastic leaders. You just have to change the way you lead. You have to change the way you communicate. And you can lead someone and communicate in a feminine way and get great results.
Okay. So how would that translate into, I suppose, yeah, can you give me an example of how you might lead as a female? Just, I know this is, I'm sure this, you can probably talk for hours about this, but just very briefly.
Yeah, so a good way to do it is you don't want to come across so much as a fighter, right? Like a sergeant in the army or anything like that. You want to somehow lead from the back sort of way. Like you want to say sentences like, do you think that would be the best option in that case? Or do you think maybe there's another way we could do it? Those sort of questions where you're sort of not playing dumb, but you're sort of leading them to the answer themselves. And realistically, that's not really a male or female trait. That's a great trait for everyone to use.
Okay, right. That's really, so more questioning rather than, and suggesting rather than saying this is how it's going to be done.
It's a good way to lead anyway, by leading them to the answer.
Yeah.
Benjamin Franklin said the measure of a leader isn't how many people he leads, it's how many leaders he creates.
That's fantastic. I love that. I've never heard of that. So that's a really, really good quote. Yeah.
If you're managing people, ask yourself, have I made this person a leader or have I made them dependent on me?
Yeah, that's really, really good. So in terms of, I know one of the topics that I really wanted to also get you to sort of share with the rest of, with the whole group and the audience is on the topic of trust, relationship trust, because I'd gather that's also another big reason why relationships break down. Yeah. And I suppose what I sort of want to know is going into a brand new relationship, whether it's personal or, work related, what are some really effective ways of building trust quickly with the person?
It's very basic, right? So it comes down to rapport building along with general experiences, right? So if you can build rapport with someone, you're going to have a lot better chance of building trust with them. Okay. You might have met someone in the past who's a fantastic conversationalist. They will be able to hold a conversation with anybody. But then when you get to know them after a few months, you find out they're not very trustworthy at all and not very reliable, but they're a fantastic conversationalist and they gain your trust quite quickly. Being able to build rapport and being a good conversationalist is a fantastic skill that people should try to master, because that's a great way to build trust without having to prove yourself. Okay. Another good way to build trust is to give trust.
Okay. Yeah.
Make sense?
I like that. Yes. So just to give that first and then it'll just reciprocate back to us.
Yeah. If you show someone that you don't trust them at all, they will fulfill that. They will show you that you're right. You're selling to them. But if you sell them the idea that they're going to do the right thing, there's a more chances that they are going to do the right thing. Yeah, you hear employers all the time. I'm working with a new guy I signed up the other week, helping him with relationships, and he runs a excavating, earth moving company, right? He trains up people. He trained up 4 people, and after about a year or 2, they all end up leaving and going working for other people. And he goes, oh, why should I spend time training them up? And then they leave and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah. So then he's obviously lost trust. Like he himself can't even trust, whoever he's going to bring on board then. So does that then become a vicious cycle? It's
a negative pattern he's playing for himself.
Yeah. So how do you break that cycle? Because I'm sure even in the dental industry, you'd see that as well. There's a lot of training involved to get, a new team player come on board. And then when they leave, you feel almost sour grapes, I suppose. So how would people sort of break that cycle or that pattern?
It's a real simple question. Gary Vee actually says it, because you hear all the time a manager or a manager or a boss will say, what if we train this person and they leave? The simple rebuttal to that is, what if you don't train them and they don't leave?
And they stay. Yeah. Would be a nightmare. Yeah. All right. So I suppose what I want to find out is this is probably, I mean, men would feel it too, women especially, probably from an emotional point of view. You know, when people sort of up and go and they sort of have left, you sort of feel, I suppose, a sense of almost betrayal, I suppose, because, you know, sometimes, and especially in some cases, the signs just weren't there. They've really put absolutely, you know, everything into, you know, into that working relationship, and then it just all went kaput out of nowhere. This person suddenly resigned out of nowhere. How do you then, I suppose, quickly get back on track emotionally so that you can trust again, so that you can rebuild that? Because you don't want to bring on the next person and have that as another failing relationship all over again.
Business is a funny thing. If you're getting severely and extremely emotionally attached to an employee, maybe you don't have the heart for business. Business is a tough game, as you know,
Yes.
right? Business is hard. You make enemies all the time. And some people hate you for no specific reason. It's called business, and we're in business to make money, right? People are going to leave. People are going to come. People are going to leave. It's not a big deal. No, and no one's going to put as much work into your business as you're going to put into it. These are just facts. If someone wants to leave, be happy for them. Treat it with empathy. Put some empathy back into it. If they want to leave, go, that's great. You go on to the next chapter of your life. I hope it goes well. If you need anything from me, let me know. There's no reason why we can't still be friends. Yeah. Don't act like it's betrayal. They're moving on to something better. Be happy for them. Say you have a child and the child leaves home. Don't feel sad that they left home. Be happy they're not at home till they're 40, being reliant on you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's really good. That's definitely business 101 there. So if for whatever reason in a workplace there's a relationship going on, and then the trust gets broken, and you know, before this person even gets to a point where they're leaving, how do you, as a employer, or you know, as a practice leader, if you're identifying that, how can you quickly turn that back around again so that you can gain that person's trust again and sort of rebuild that relationship?
So you're saying if you had an employee and they're doing lots of things wrong?
So I'm also thinking, if for whatever reason, yeah, you can feel like, okay, there's some tension going on with, you know, the relationship and things are not working, but you obviously don't want them to leave. So you're like, okay, well, how can I salvage this relationship now before it gets to the point where they're leaving, and get this person back on track, you know, so that there's a trusting and positive relationship again?
Yeah. Being a leader is a very good skill. And being a leader, one of the best skills is not being a great talker, it's being a great listener, right? So Nelson Mandela's father was a tribal leader, right? And at his tribal meetings in Africa, they'd sit in a big circle, and he would always be the last to talk, okay? And what he did there, he created emotional safety. If you can create a workplace where people feel emotionally safe to openly talk about their ideas and openly feel like they're valued and their emotions are valued and their ideas are valued, they're going to be more likely to feel better about an environment and want to do the best for you. If you don't treat them like if they don't feel like it's emotionally safe for them and they don't feel valued on an emotional level, they're not going to want to be part of the team. You've got to make them feel part of that team. A leader makes everyone feel included, makes everyone feel emotionally safe. Like, you may have got an invitation to a party before, right?
Yeah.
You think, yeah, I got this invitation, but I don't feel emotionally invited. I don't feel like that I'm really invited. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Were you really invited to that party, or did someone just send you an invitation just to be nice? Does anyone really want you there? Were you emotionally invited, like they really want you there? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does your employee feel like you really want them there and you really value them, or that they're just another employee and you don't care?
So, like, is that relationship just completely superficial, or if it's going to be something that's going to be, something that's a bit deeper than that?
Yeah, if you can feel they're having a bad day, pull them aside and say, hey, what's really on your mind?
Yeah.
How can I help? What's happening? What can I do for you to make your life better? What can I do to make your job better?
Yeah.
Talk to me. Spend the time. Sit down for 5 minutes a day. What do you think? What are you thinking? What can we do? Yeah. Just emotional safety will pay back dividends.
So, Jake, I have a question. This is probably a very big question. It's probably quite complex as well. You obviously work with a lot of clients on their, marriages or their relationships in general and all that sort of stuff. At which point, and this will translate into a workplace relationship as well, at which point do you feel like, that particular relationship is getting to that point where it's no longer salvageable? And you're like, okay, look, it's just not going to work, because obviously it takes two to tango, as we both know. And, the relationship, both party needs to be on board. Sometimes you do get in a workplace, something where I suppose, that the employer might feel like, okay, I really need to salvage this relationship. We're trying really hard to, try and do what we need to get this person back on board, but we're just failing. And it could be a tactical fail. It could be just that person doesn't have the tools and the ability to bring that person back. But at other times, the other person just doesn't want to play anyway. They've already lost them.
Yeah.
At which point do you sort of know, okay, well, this is it. That's beyond it. And, this is not salvageable anymore. Let's move on.
I'm going to answer that in two ways, right? Because there's two different things, whether you're dealing with a marriage or you're dealing with an employee in a business, because they are a little bit different.
Yeah.
The first one with the relationships, which is really surprising to me, Becky, is I thought for sure when I started relationship coaching that I'm probably going to find some couples who I can't help or I can't get their relationship to a 10 out of 10.
Mm.
Surprising to me, it hasn't happened. And I've coached couples from Canada, Mexico, USA, Spain, heaps in Australia, obviously, New Zealand, all over the world, China, and they all have the same issues. They all have the same issues, and the things I teach transcend culture, religion, age, everything, because it deals with basic human nature. It transcends it all, and every single one of those relationships gets to a 10 out of 10. And you may think, well, how's that possible? Surely some people just aren't suited to each other. In short answer, I force them to change.
Okay.
I know that's crazy. How can I force them to change? I get them on the phone and I'm a forceful coach and I force them to change. I tell them exactly what they need to do, exactly what they need to stop doing. And that's it. And I'm on their back and make sure they do it. It's the same if you want to get really fit. But you say, I want to get really fit. I want that six pack, but I really like donuts. And your coach says, well, too bad. You can't have both.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. And I force them to change. And I haven't lost a couple yet, which is fantastic. And they've all gotten to a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Secondly, with business, right? So business is a little bit differently because the goals might be different, right? The goal of the owner of the business might be different than the goal of the employee. I'm sure a lot of business owners have heard the saying, employees do the minimum amount of work so they don't get fired, and employers pay the employee a minimum amount so they don't quit. Obviously a very negative saying, but a saying nevertheless, and some people do it, and you can see that in the results that they have. It's not great.
Yeah.
So they have different goals. It's a lot easier if two people are on the same goals. If you can make people feel emotionally safe, that's a good thing. But realistically, with business, it's a bit more cut and dry. So the way I like to look at it is I'm slow at hiring, and then if they have trouble, and then I train them. If they still have trouble, I fire them. I slow hire, fast fire, right? If they do bad, if they do something that's not great, or even if they're late a few times on me, see you later. I'm pretty cut and dry. I'm pretty hard with business, and the results show.
Yeah.
I don't care about results. Oh, I'm in the hospital or my kid's sick. Well, that's great. I don't really care. I want results. I'm a hard businessman, and that's why I get good results. So, and I'm that hard on my clients too. That's why they get good results, because people don't want to change, Becky. If I'm coaching someone and they've been in this negative pattern for 20 years with their relationship, why are they going to want to change? They don't. They say, yeah, I don't really like what's happening, but I have to drag these people to change.
Yeah. So that's how you get the performance, I suppose, because you set that bar really high, not just for your clients, but I mean, obviously for your clients, but also for yourself and anyone that works with you.
Yeah, correct. I don't expect the people I hire to care about my business as much as I do, because that's impossible. I don't expect the people who work for me to work as hard as my business as I do, because that's also impossible. But I do expect a certain level of work ethic and a certain level of results. And if they're doing a decent level, and I'm happy to make it the best workplace I possibly can and make them feel emotionally safe and let them have artistic and creative freedom and all lots of great stuff, as long as they perform to a certain level.
Yeah. So going back to, you know, when do you know that it's not salvageable? I guess the answer is it all comes down to their performance, doesn't it? If you can see that they're performing, then it's worth going for. If you're seeing that they're not performing, then this is a dud probably, and it's probably not going to work anytime soon. Yeah.
Exactly.
I love that.
Realistically, what are you in business for?
Well, to make business.
To make money.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a relationship coach, right? I love relationships. I could do it 100 hours a week, and I do. But I could have gone to university and become a counselor and made a quarter of the amount of money I make and help people from 9 to 5. I could have made just as much impact, maybe. Am I going to do that? Of course not. That's ridiculous. Why would I want to? I do care both ways, but I'm also a businessman.
It's really finding that balance, isn't it?
I guess so. I like helping people, and I also like making money.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, no, that's great. So, Jake, thank you so much for all the information. To conclude our session today, I just want to know, you know, where can people find you? I'm sure there'll be somewhere among the audience where someone might feel like, look, you know, I might need some more help even in my own personal relationships and, you know, getting more tools and techniques from someone like yourself.
Yeah, definitely. One last thing before I go, Becky. The thing to remember, guys, with business is what you achieve in business, you can directly see how good someone's relationship is at home. If you're having a bad relationship at home, your business is going to suffer. And I think a lot of people who probably watch this have experienced that. Like if you've had a fight with your partner at home, you're going to have a bad day of business. And you're also going to be a bad parent on that day too. You can't be a winner on the days where your partner's not supporting you. It's difficult, right? If you have the right person by your side and your relationship's a 10 out of 10 and you're a good businessman, you're going to be very rich. If your relationship isn't a 10 out of 10 and you're a great businessman, I don't care how good of a businessman you are, you're going to have a lot of trouble. So think about that very carefully. The little things, the same with your health, yeah? If you're a great businessman, but your health is terrible, it's a handicap. You're giving yourself a handicap. You're holding yourself back. So relationships and business are obviously different, but they're tied up in so many ways. Guys, if you want to find me in any help at all, my passion in life and my goal in life is to help as many people with relationships as possible. So just search up Jake Maddock on Facebook or Instagram or pretty much any social media you feel like. I'm everywhere. So you can't miss me. So I'm here to help.
Thank you so much, Jake. Thank you for your time. Yeah. Hello. Hi, Jake. Yeah, thank you for your time. We'll see you around. I'm sure we'll see you around at another time.
Fantastic, Becky. Thanks for the great questions.
Thank you. Thanks.